Alright, pick up left off here from the last video with Invasion of Time. Now, I was talking about Barospa. Now, for some reason, this character went through 4 actors in all 4 appearances. I had brought up in the last video his name as original actor, before I got told to because of dinner. His name was August McKay. He didn't do very much in the original story. Not really. The second one, this one here, Invasion of Time, he's played by John Armitt, who actually is no longer alive. Yes. He was, in fact, the one who taught the doctors the stuff he knows, so he did kind of drop out due to the fact of more development instinct. Now, here's the thing. It only had been 2 years since his last appearance. Now, why couldn't the original actor be bothered to come back for the story? Don't know. It is something. Though the actor who originally played Barospa played the headmaster in Mario Undead, so basically I got his both appearances he did in Doctor Who. But it is something that I would love to find out the reason for this. Of why in the world the actor had to be replaced. Was anything wrong with the original actor's performance? Not really. Maybe because they wanted to do a little more experienced acting, that's why I chose John Arnott for the role. So, the story starts off with basically the Doctor on an alien spaceship talking to 3 guys who look like they're covered in sheets, like plastic sheets. Talking to those. Well, we don't know what these people look like until like the 4th episode. Because the Doctor spends a lot of the time doing various things. He signs a contract with them, which he then proceeds to go straight to Gallifrey and just, and by the way, Barospa at this point in time has promoted from Cardinal to Chancellor. He was appointed to the position due to the previous one being deceased, Chancellor Goth. They say, it's done illegally. And as anybody knows when it comes to Barospa, he's always seen with a hat on. He's never seen without a hat on. Yeah, it's never actually explained why that is. So, and of course, they wanted to arrest the Doctor, and the Doctor goes straight to Barospa's office, declaring that he is rightfully assumed position as the president of Gallifrey, of the Time Lords. Yes, a position he ran for in the previous story, Deadly Assassin, which I think he lost 9-10, but somehow he was able to get it because, the reason because Goth probably won it per se, but due to him being deceased, the Doctor automatically wins it. So he also gets his own office. He also gets Barospa to do this, where he basically has special different stuff decorated the office. And even the doors, basically a lead line office. Yep. Yeah, that's pretty much what. And later on, the office is not fully finished the way it looks until part 2 of the story. Leela, of course, is with Doctor. Now, before I continue, I want to talk a little about Leela. Leela had first appeared in the story The Face, and we'll discuss the story in the future. Now, from what I've heard about Leela, apparently, Doctor Who's biggest critic, Mary Whitehouse, this was one of her primary things she hated about Doctor Who. Leela. She hated this character. Why? Because she hated the way she dressed. I mean, she had no problem with the violent aspect of her. Oh no, she hated the garb she wore. Or her manner of speaking. That's what I heard about her when her Mary Whitehouse thing. I'm if I was there back then, I would tell her, lady, grow up. This is the way that the people who make the show want her to dress. Allow her to dress this way. It's like this old lady, Mary Whitehouse. It's like she was stuck in the 60s with how she think how women should dress. She hated her garb. She hated the fact she was anytime she saw this character, it's like her primary focus of rage against the show. She hated all the violence associated with the show. Now, apparently, I heard nothing about her against Elizabeth Slade in the show. Like, nothing against her, but she hated Leela. She hated her with a passion. Yeah. All because she didn't like the way she dressed or the fact the way she spoke. Now, I should point out, though, all these scripts are written by men. Now, I have never had a problem. Now, I have seen all Leela's appearances on Doc. Yes, I'm starting with her last appearance per se, but excuse me. Now, I didn't hear anything complaints about her. Her complaining about Tom Baker himself or K9. Like, of all the Fourth Doctor's companions, she hated Leela the most. Like, nothing against Sarah Jane. I heard nothing bad said about about her and Romana, or even Adric. Just she hated Leela. She even got the director of the first appearance of Barossa's first appearance, Deadly Assassin. She got the director fired over daring to depict the Doctor drowning. Yes, seriously. That's the reason why he got fired from his job. Because of that scene at the cliffhanger. Now, I didn't hear any complaints much about this one, but she hated Deadly Assassin. Yes. Yeah, my special term for when I hear stuff about Mary Whitehouse and stuff against Doctor Who, it's like, what's the Doctor's biggest enemy? Is the Daleks? Is the Cybermen? Is the Master? No, it's no lady named Mary Whitehouse. Yeah, that's the Doctor's arch nemesis. A critic who apparently couldn't basically get our own particular point of view, her narrow view of how the Doctor should be depicted, despite the fact when Tom Baker first assumed position back in the early 70s, he said this in an interview: "The Doctor is an alien. I will basically have him act like an alien on the show." And the producers of the show acknowledged the fact that the audience grew up. Mary Whitehouse did not acknowledge that factoid. She still thought, though, oh, kids watch the show. I'm sure probably at the time, adults watched the show. Off the tirade about Mary Whitehouse. So, he basically also gets a chance to have an installation, which they have, assume, the rod, the sash around the salon, and key, but the key is not there. The key is not shown up until half of the story. And there's a reason why. Apparently the key is there except the last portion of the story. So basically he sets all that up. The fact also he puts the Crown Matrix on, but nearly kills him. Then Leela is banished from the Citadel, get allies. Yeah. And then everyone's assembled at the Praetorium, where you're like, oh yeah, here are our new masters. These 3 plastic sheets. And basically they give a Doctor the task of taking down the shield barrier that would have caused, get this, the destruction of the planet Gallifrey. So what he did was a compromise. He opened a hole in it to allow him through. Why in the world they wanted why they wanted the barrier down? Yeah, that was actually not explained till part 5 of the story. Yeah. So eventually they reveal who the Vardarians are, and they look like normal humans. And eventually, thanks to basically finding the planet origin, they're able to banish them. And this isn't toward the end of part 4 when this happens. Yeah, and of course also they bring her allies into Gallifrey. There's also a revolt. There's one point where we have the guy whose name is Adric, by the way. He works for the Royal Guard, which, by the way, this particular unit does pop up again in Arc of Infinity. And I think they made a brief appearance in the 20th anniversary special, which I'll get. That I've already discussed already. So, yeah, then Burroughs at one point is suspended, is basically confined to quarters, though he is later returned to, and also he spent the Constitution. Yep. Yeah, and he explains later on in the story the reason why he put the Layla in a room, because apparently these Verdarians are mind readers. Yes, even not speaking, They will read your thoughts. Yes. And apparently the Doctor can count them sometime prior to the events of the story. When? They don't really say when. You could say it was between stories, yes. But you might be asking, okay, what was the previous story for Invasion of Time? It was Underworld. Yes. Oh, let me mention briefly about K9. The version in this story is the original K9, K9 Mark II. And I can see why they replaced it with Mark II. The reason? Every time this robot dog moves, he is loud. Wow, is he loud. It's a good thing his replacement was basically, it's like, they put something that they did, one big change they made from Mark 1 to Mark 2 is that he's less noisy when he moves around. He makes a little bit of noise, but not as loud as when his dog moves. I get the reason why they decided to replace the model with Mark II, which appears at the end of the story. John Lesson is the guy who voices K9, who did make a reappearance in one of the Key Time stories. Now, he did pretty much all K9's appearances, during the classic era. He did, of course, reprise his role as K9 for Sarah Jane Adventures in, of course, Modern Who. And, of course, the brief spinoff of the show, K9, which aired in Australia, which, here's the thing about this one. Apparently, according to what I heard, apparently that the K9 appearance story is the original, is Mark 1 K9. So you can say, technically, this was the K9 Mark 1 experience if the story was in that show. So, Antividians are expelled in episode 12. And like, oh yeah, everyone's all celebrating, and everyone stops. Like, Doctor's like, what's going on? And Doctor turns around, and there's 4 Centaurans on Gallifrey. Yeah, the Centaurans have invaded Gallifrey. The reason? They want Time Lord technology. Yep. So the Castellan in this story, who is a jerk, and work with anybody who's basically the boss. So the Doctor does not want to cooperate with. Of course, they say, oh, we're looking for someone named Doctor. Are you the one called Doctor? And he's like, no, I'm Lord President. You can call me sir. And of course he doesn't disagree with him. And eventually, of course, the people who Leela gathered about the whole story, they get slowly killed off. Well, with the exception of Adric himself. Not the guy who appears later on. I believe his name's Adric, I'm mistaken. Adrid. That's his name, Adrid. Also, story, we see him getting close to Leela. And it's sort of like holding her hand. Yeah, this turns into a romance between the two of them. I'll get to that. So, and of course, Doctor splits away from the Centaurans and and apparently all those people that she had just gathered up all get killed except for, let's see, Priscilla, Andrin, Barossa basically is involved with this too. Yes. So, yeah, it's like you bring these people in and then basically when the Centaurans show up, they all get killed off. What was the point of that? I have no idea. So, eventually decide to go to the TARDIS. Yes, take him to the workshop. And Leela gets lost, so he takes him to the bathroom instead. And oh boy, there's a bit of comedy here with this one. So, then a Doctor gets the key to time, which apparently was kept in a portion of Barossa's desk. And Barossa, oh, you're the first Time Lord President to hold that key. Yeah. And apparently the Doctor takes him with it because, well, the reason why is because basically he has knowledge he has a lot of knowledge, a lot of Time Lord knowledge, so it takes to protect him. So eventually, the Doctor and Leela just wander on the TARDIS, which I have heard this actually was an actual hospital they shot this in. Yes, and of course the Barossa's like, Doctor, you gotta change your interior. This interior sucks. That's what he said. That was so funny. Yep. And then and of course, you have where Parissa is working with K9 to build something. Turns out an actual gun. Like, I'll get to it. So he finds Barospa. Get this. And this is so hilarious. You have someone who's a Time Lord just relaxing at a pool. Yes, at the pool inside the TARDIS, which actually had appeared in this very story before. This I thought was so funny. You have a guy wearing robes. He's here just put his feet up on a lounge chair reading a paper. I thought this was funny. And by the way, the Centaurans, they shut down his little barrel. They couldn't take him. Eventually do find him. And so Adrian decided to throw pool furniture at the Centauran. I thought this was funny. Oh yeah. Like delay by throwing a loud chair at him. I thought was so funny. Yep. Yeah, and they say the pool was the bathroom. I thought this was funny. And eventually, the workshop is some random place. And they have this thing where, they go to the same place like 5 or 6 times. Like, walk in this area. And eventually, yeah. And Leela's like, I go my own way. And eventually finds no problem. So going like 5 or 6 left turns. Yeah, turn left, turn left, turn left, turn left. Finally, you're there. Excuse me, yes. So, the gun that's built, the disintegrator gun. Which Doctor proceeds to use it to kill the last 2 Centaurans. By the way, first Centauran to die, like, he told Leela, like, do they have weakness? Yes, they have a small bit in the back of their neck. Which she takes her knife and throws it at him right on target. And then, of course, another one's killed. There's actually 4 Centaurans. Leela kills one. One of the guys kills him with basically a knife as well. And the other 2 are killed by the Doctor with a disintegrator gun. The other one just like, just a small beam. And eventually counters Star, the commander, who wants to use his bomb to basically blow up Gallifrey and most of the galaxy with this one grenade. And then the Doctor fires it, and he loses all memory of the whole story. And then proclaimed a hero. And then, of course, Leela decides to stay with Adrid with K9 Mark 1. And then the story ends with him basically just getting a box out of a room, and since that box says K9 Mark II. K9 Mark II makes its debut in the very next story, which is the Rebus operation. Yep. But the case of the story, it's really good. I thoroughly enjoyed this one. Now, I have heard the reason why Leela was written on the story, because Louise Jameson, the actress and player, did not know if a contract was renewed, so they just have her leave the story with this character who just got introduced in the story, and of course Mark 1 decided to stay behind with her. Yep, I thought the character was really fun. I will be discussing more with her in the future, don't worry about that, but in the case of the second story featuring Marospa, this one I felt as though he was involved a lot, but there's also a joke in the story where at one point the Doctor, him running, it's like, I haven't run that much in 200 years. And it's like, I'm used to it, my body's built for it. Probably because the Doctor does cardio. And Barossa probably just sits on his rear end, or at least just walks very slowly. Probably because he's an old man, but I thought that was so funny. The fact that we poke fun at Barossa's age, just because the Doctor is younger. In case you're curious though, Tom Baker, at the time, I think he was in his 40s. I think he was 40 years old when he first took up the role of Doctor. Yeah, believe it or not, he was 40. Currently, the actor is 89 years old. Yep. But, sad that basically, it's interesting the fact that, well, let me show off the X picture now. Yes, because for some reason they put this on the front cover. In my opinion, this was a bad idea. Couldn't John hide the fact the Centaurans in the story? Yeah, it's the Centauran story. And here's the strange thing about the Centaurans in classic Doctor Who. This is the 3rd time they ever appeared. And they appear one more time after this in 2 Doctors. Yep. And that'll be it for them. Basically, they become like the second classic Doctor Who monster, where I got all the appearances in the classic. But I give the story a 10 out of 10. Yeah, the only monster I've gotten so far is the Ice Warriors. And for them, it was like 4 times. There is, however, I should mention though, there is one other story that kind of thing does feature them. By the way, the story was released from February 4th to March 11th, 1978. But in the case of what happened at this next, which was the Key to Time story arc, yep. But in the case of the Centaurans, they would not return again until the Two Doctors. Yeah, that was the next appearance, and that was almost a decade later. Yeah, the Two Doctors, which was released in 1985. Yes, seriously. 1985, which I do have this one. I will basically discuss this in the future. Don't worry about that. Yeah, so it is something, though, the fact that the Centaurans make their final appearance in Classic Who, which came after this one 7 years later, and then after that they don't have appearance on Doctor Who until 2008. Was 08? Yeah, it was 08. So basically, fans had to wait 33 years for the next appearance of the Centaurans. Yep. Oh, here's some interesting, though. I had discussed pretty much most of the stories already. They actually will return after that. They actually return in... Here's the thing about their appearances in New Who. They appeared in two stories of David Tennison, 2 Sarah Jane episodes, and then 4 stories of Jodie Whittaker. Yep. But yeah, that's particular view. Next up is going to be 2 comic corners, and it's on to Dr. Stone. Okay, next video. Bye.